In this video, I explore the origin of the office of consul in ancient Rome, how it was filled, and the functions that were attributed to it. I welcome you to my YouTube channel where I explore ancient texts. The ancient texts that I explore in this channel are those that have been around for thousands of years. At the moment, I'm going through from the founding of the city by Titus Livius or Livy. This is a collection of books that covers the history of Rome from its founding by Romulus in the 750s BCE to the time when Augustus was emperor, which was close to 0 AD. If you have not subscribed, subscribe so that you do not miss any of the videos I upload. The office of consul was unique to ancient Rome. Even today, it remains a unique form of government or even a republic to ever exist throughout much of the recorded human history. The other civilizations with government structures close to the consulship in ancient Rome were some of the Greek republics. Sparta, for example, had two individuals who ruled at the same time, but not as consuls, but as hereditary lifelong kings. More recently, in 1799, the French, under the leadership of Napoleon Bonaparte, set up a government headed by 3 consuls supposed to serve terms of 10 years. Napoleon Bonaparte was elected among the first 3 consuls. However, not long after, in 1804, he consolidated power and made himself emperor. The office of consul ruled Rome for close to 500 years. It was held by 2 individuals elected from the Patrician families each year. The consuls were nominated by the Senate before being confirmed by the people at the public assembly. Whenever Rome faced a crisis, such as a major war, the powers of the consul were suspended through the appointment of a dictator. Once the mandate of the dictator expired, the consuls came back into office. Before consuls, Rome was ruled by kings. Romulus, the founder of the city, was the first king. He was followed by Numa Pompilius, Tullus Hostilius, Ancus Marcius, Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, Servius Tullius, and Lucius Tarquinius Superbus in that order. When in 509 BCE the people could not endure the tyranny of Lucius Tarquinius Superbus anymore, under the leadership of his own nephews Lucius Junius Brutus and Lucius Tarquinius Collatinus, they deposed and expelled him. The people then turned the city into a republic, took much of the powers that used to be exercised by the king and gave them to the consuls. Livy writes, the first consul retained all the jurisdictions and insignia of office. One only, however, had the facet to prevent the fear which might have been inspired by the sight of both with those dread symbols. The first consuls were Lucius Junius Brutus and Lucius Tarquinius Collatinus. However, Collatinus was forced to resign almost immediately after taking office because of his relationship with the expelled king, and he was replaced with Publius Valerius, who came to be known as Publicola. The reign of consuls was disrupted between 451 and 449 BCE with the coming into office of the decemvirs. These are a group of 10 individuals who had been selected to reign in the interim as the city wrote new laws. The decemvirs declined to give up their control after the expiry of their mandate and were removed by force, and consulship re-established. For a long time, it was accepted in Rome that only patricians qualified to serve as consul. The plebeians did not question this assumption initially and were satisfied by being allowed to elect their own tribunes of the people to protect their rights. In 440s BCE, however, they began to demand that they should be allowed to be elected consul. This push was led by one Caius Canelius, a tribune of the people. This is what Livy quotes him saying in an address to the assembly. Will this city be no longer able to stand? Is our dominion at an end if a free vote is allowed to the Roman people so that they may entrust the consulship to whomever they will? And no plebeian may be shut out from the hope of attaining the highest honor if only he is worthy of the highest honor? The patricians resisted this move. Livy writes, the patricians believed that if this were carried, the supreme power will not only be degraded by being shared with the lowest of the people, but will entirely pass away from the chief men in the state into the hands of the plebs. They will rather die 1,000 deaths than suffer such an ignominy to be perpetrated. However, reading through Livy's books, you don't find an instant where the patricians are specifically blessed to rule exclusively as consuls. In fact, almost all the kings that ruled Rome were not patricians. Romulus himself was not a patrician. In fact, he is the one who appointed 100 senators from ordinary people. Numa Pompilius became king without ever being appointed senator. Ancus Marcius was the grandson of Numa. Lucius Tarquinius Priscus was a stranger who came from Tarquini in the land of Etruscans. Servius Tullius was rumored to have been the son of a slave. Livy quotes Caius Canelius stating that, as long as no class of a person in which conspicuous merit appeared was rejected, the Roman dominion grew. Are you then to regard our plebeian consul with disgust when our ancestors showed no aversion to strangers as their kings? Not even after the expulsion of the kings was the city closed to foreign merit. The Claudian house, at all events, who migrated from the Sabines, was received by us not only into citizenship, but even into the ranks of the Patricians. It is not clear when the Patrician family started to see themselves as the special breed that had the exclusive right to rule. Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, the last king, had killed most of the senators and leading Patrician families. When Brutus became a consul, he appointed a significant number of ordinary individuals to the Senate. The feeling of being special among the Patricians must have grown mostly after the birth of the Republic. And part of that was building the narrative that only they qualified to fill the office of consul. Not all the functions of the king were given to the consuls. A new office was created by Lucius Junior Brutus to take over the religious functions that used to be performed by the king. Livy writes, certain public religious functions had hitherto been executed by the kings in person. With the view of supplying their place, a king for sacrifices was created. Unless he should become king in anything more than name, and so threaten the liberty which was their first care, his office was made subordinate to the Pontifex Maximus, the high priest. The reason the office of the king for sacrifices was created was that it was deemed disrespectful to the gods to have someone lower than a king perform some of the religious functions. The following are the 7 primary functions the consuls performed. 1. Deciding on disputes between private citizens. An example of this happening is when the consuls ruled on debts, an issue that led to the first secession of the plebeians. 2. Enlisting the military when Rome needed to defend itself. 3. Leading the army to war. 4. Collecting taxes and other levies. 5. Being the leading diplomats of the state and therefore negotiating with other states on behalf of Rome. 6. Conducting censors, but there was times when a special office was created for this purpose. 7. Presiding over Senate debates and public assembly meetings. Following the demand by the plebeians in the year 444 BCE to be allowed to stand to be elected consul, a compromise was arrived at, and that was the creation of a new office known as the consulate tribunes. This office was going to be filled by both plebeians and patricians and will have almost similar powers to those of the consuls, especially in the military hierarchy. However, when it came to the actual elections, the plebeians did not offer themselves to be elected, and only the patricians were elected. The next year, however, things went back to normal and only consuls were elected. The reign of consuls continued until Augustus came to power as emperor in 27 BCE. If you enjoyed this video, take a moment to strike the like button. I also welcome your comments. See you in the next video.